Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. And boy, do I have some news today. And all I can say is it's good to be right. It's good. I'm going to take over Miss Cleo's job as the gaming guru and psychic for the industry. I promise you. I have said within the last couple of months that Microsoft is going to be pushing really big. They want to be the new media for cross-platforming, online services, so on and so forth. And the competition isn't within the software, it's about parameters, preference for the consumers, not what is being offered through necessarily hardware and, as far as gaming, like the games are concerned, hardware preferences is what consumers should be shopping for, not saying, oh, well, it's all about, this tech versus that tech. And yesterday it was announced that Sony and Microsoft have joined forces for the cloud gaming services. And this is huge, and I'll be getting into this, but I do want to. There are two links in the description below. The first person I heard this from is, of course, one of my favorite content creators when it comes to the tech industry, what's going on in the gaming tech industry, and that's Rich at Review Tech USA. I really love this content creator, one of my favorite content creators, because if Rich gets any solid information, any viable, reliable sources, he's usually on top of it. And I really appreciate that about Rich over there at Review Tech. And of course, I went to the article as well, so I sourced his video. I do recommend checking out his video as well as the article itself. Now, Sony and Microsoft, I'm going to read some of it, have taken time out from arguing whose game console is better to team up and make both of their games better. It's very much like when opposing troops stopped the fighting to play football during the First World War, only less poignant and with more mentions of Microsoft Azure, which is the software. The two companies will explore joint development of future cloud solutions in Microsoft Azure to support their respective games and content streaming services. Microsoft said in a statement announcing the development, adding that these efforts will also include building better development platforms for the content creator community. So this is what's really good. It's a joint effort. Microsoft's getting something out of it. Sony's getting something out of it. The gaming community is getting, the developers and the gamers are all getting pros with this joint effort. I really applaud both companies. And once again, I'm always saying that, cross-platform is the future. I put that in my prospectus when I was putting it together. Unfortunately, I have local businessmen who are not very educated in these fields, or even don't even have a clue, honestly, to be honest with you. They're completely clueless. But regardless, I've said cross-platforming and accessibility is the future of gaming. And the biggest thing is Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft aren't, to me, they're not really competitors moving forward. The competitors are stream service, not about necessarily the hardware parameters, it's preference. But it's all about accessibility to the consumers. And their biggest competitor right now is Google and potentially Netflix. And believe it or not, Apple. I think Apple announced that it's, coming out with a stream console of some sort, I believe. I think I've heard something like that along the line. What's really nice about this, excuse me, Sony's pulled out from E3. We know this. Microsoft hasn't. And I keep saying this, that these partnerships are huge because I honestly think 2019 from a development company standpoint is Square Enix year. because they're going to be making they've already made huge announcements. Imagine E3 and Microsoft being the media, wanting to be the media for cross-platform, being the streamlined service that it wants to be in the future, is going to hopefully, and I mean hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, make this deal with Square Enix and Final Fantasy 14. We've already started seeing Final Fantasy products that were typically only reserved for PlayStation in the past being now remastered and re-implemented and reintroduced to the Xbox consumers. If my assumptions and are correct, we should be hearing something with the Final Fantasy 14 at E3. I'm hoping, I'm praying. Everything's pointing in that direction. Now, is this going to be launched in 2019? I cannot speculate, but everything's pointing that Microsoft's doing everything it possibly can to do what? Service. It's all about the service. It's all about the services in the future, and Microsoft securing its position. It's working with Nintendo. It's working with Sony. Everybody's working together. Why? Because there's a lot of money to be made. There's a ton of money to be made by everybody. Share the wealth. Share it. Why? Because you're securing. You're pushing out any competition with stream services, right? Any potential stream services. It's securing these companies moving forward. That's what it's doing by coming together with these joint efforts. And I think this was a smart play on both companies' part. And I agree with Rich. Way to go, Sony. Way to go. Good job. I agree with him 100%. So I'm really looking forward to the E3 more now than ever, because this is kind of like, this is what's been the problem with poor Square Enix. Square Enix has said multiple times it wants to offer Final Fantasy XIV on multiple platforms. It is a cross-platform game. It meaning PC and Sony players play on the same servers. And now we see Sony and Microsoft being buddy-buddy, being like, yeah, we can do this. We can come to arrangements. We can come to agreements. And this is good for the consumers. It's pro-consumer, right? That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you prefer an Xbox and I prefer a PC and my friend prefers a PlayStation, why should we be left to suffer because of our preferences? We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. And that's what this is about moving forward. It's all about letting consumers have their preferences and still offering what? The games. And offering the tech and advancing that. And I'm really happy about this announcement. I am ecstatic. I am elated as hell to see that the two of these companies who have, had exclusives and this and that in the past are now realizing, you know what? We can still operate and still find a medium ground. There's always going to be that little flex spot where Sony's going to be like, nah, Microsoft. Microsoft's going to be like, nah, Sony. But they can find resolution. They can come to some sort of agreement and resolve these problems and still make out. And that's a smart move. And I would like to say for all the people locally in my little area or my little neck of the woods, man, you guys missed the boat. You guys totally missed the boat in that business meeting that I was in with you guys. You completely went over your heads. Completely over your heads. And I told you guys when I went over that prospectus, I told you what was going to happen within the next 2 years. And everything's coming to fruition. Why? Because I know the industry. It's fine. It's fine. And I would like to thank everybody. Let's keep our fingers crossed for E3. All right. I'm going to end this stream, and then I'll be starting on my video game stream. But I hope everybody enjoys this news. Once again, I'm Mystic Raven. This is Mystic's MMOs. As always, thank you, and have a nice day.